Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin.
I'm Ryan.
And we're here to talk about toys. Welcome back, Ryan.
I'm back.
This is great. Ryan was in the very first episode of Pegwarmers ever.
Yeah.
And you've been on a few other ones since then, but it's been a little while.
It's always fun to sit on this side of the table. And I've made that joke more than once.
Ryan usually sits here for Talk About Games.
Yeah.
Another show that if you're into gaming, you got to check it out. It is very odd. I actually lost this seat for an episode of Pegwarmers one time. The Farpoint Toys crew challenged me to a road trip bingo game looking for Pegwarmers.
Oh, yeah.
And Penelope took this seat for an episode because I lost they won the bingo game. So
Yeah.
it's really weird. It's like riding in the passenger seat of your own car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
It definitely doesn't feel like
you're used to it, but not quite. There's something off.
What do I do?
So our news article, I brought one. This one, so a lot of times when Ryan is on, we end up referencing Ryan's kids or my stepsons. Like the parent aspect seeps into the toy collecting stuff we talk about
Sure.
when the two of us are on. So Miko, which is like a personal robot for kids,
Okay.
just announced that Paramount Consumer Products are partnering to add animated shows on the kids' robot platform. So Miko's like a little robot. Its face is a touch screen,
Okay.
and you can talk to it. And so they're adding all kinds of animated content from Paw Patrol, SpongeBob, Ninja Turtles, and we're excited to welcome the beloved Paramount stories and characters to Miko's ever-expanding kids content platform, says the co-founder. They're just trying to add to the features of
So
it.
they licensed some video.
Some video clips, basically.
Right.
So we got two of these for Christmas, two Mikos. Each of my stepsons got one from a grandparent. They're pretty expensive, and they were immediately frustrated because it answers questions poorly compared to Alexa.
Okay.
So it has internet connectivity,
Yeah.
so it can download updates, but it does not search the internet for answers.
Okay.
So it has like approved replies built into it. And when the kids ask silly stuff like kids do, it doesn't know what to say.
Right.
And it has like these pre-programmed like, I don't know, maybe we could ask an alien someday. And when you hear that the 15th time, the kids are bored and they walk away.
Because there's only a handful of them. It's like not enough.
Right, there's not enough of those things. It doesn't really follow you. Like you think it's like your little robot pal. Like
Right.
That's the way the marketing seems to make it. And it does have like a dance program. But it doesn't. It's not like you can just say, "Hello, Miko, come over here," and it doesn't do that. You can say, "Hello, Miko, move forward 2 steps," and it'll drive forward. But it just isn't as interactive as the kids want. And then if they play the games, there's all kinds of apps and videos and stuff built into it. But then you're using the face of the robot as a touchscreen that's smaller than a tablet that most kids have.
Right.
And you're like stuck crouching at this little tiny robot. So it's a cool concept, but it is not nearly as cool as they make it out to be, and it worries me.
It's a shame that like an entry-level tablet, like an entry-level Amazon Fire, I mean, obviously it's subsidized because it's in their ecosystem and everything, is like $50.
Right.
And there are used options where you get a lot more for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Have to compete against this toy. Like this toy would have been magic in the era of like Teddy Ruxpin or any of that.
for sure.
It would have been amazing, but our expectations are so much higher.
Yeah.
Right, and especially the kids.
I mean, my stepsons are used to just like asking Alexa to play a song, and they just throw out combinations of words, and it plays something that they think is funny. Like, I can't tell you how many like potty songs they've found that they think are hilarious just by saying silly stuff to Alexa. And I get it. Not every parent wants their kid exposed to like the potty song, but like Miko just doesn't have anything good to say other than like, I don't know, we could talk to the aliens. And the kids got frustrated real quick and then just completely stopped using it because it's a rolly version of their tablet.
So the recommendation is toy manufacturers don't try to compete with tablets.
Yeah, the advertising for it is so good.
Yeah.
Like when you see a Miko video, you think this is great. The reality is it's just not. And I've actually watched a bunch of YouTube videos because I was worried when we first kind of passed judgment on it that we were just being harsh, that like we didn't know how to use it yet or whatever. But like you have to say, hello, Miko. It thinks every time there's a slow load time to
So the
everything it
hardware
does.
is not where it needs to be.
No. And then, so I've watched some videos of other people using them, and either it's like a super slick, well-edited, this is amazing, or it's someone else with the exact same frustrations. And sometimes they had a little bit of fun with it. I'm not saying it's total trash, but it is not as cool as you would think it would be.
I will tell you, like the one of this technology toys that my son got that was really cool was they were like these little bugs. I forget what it's called. And the little bugs, you have paper, and you have a bunch of different color markers, and you draw on the paper lines with the different markers. And depending on what color marker you use, the speed of it changes, and whether it turns, and the colors of the lights that blink on it. So it's like a coding, intro to coding type thing. But they had it at school, and I bought it, and it was expensive. It was like $200 or something, but it was awesome. And he was doing that, and he was learning what a loop was, what a what modifiers were, and it even got to the point where more advanced you could have two parallel lines that were different colors, and it would kind of do both behaviors.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, this thing is super cool, but it wasn't trying to be the media device for the family,
Right.
Yeah. But I really like that one. I wish I knew what it was called.
So years ago, we had a preschool robot that reminds me of Miko. I think it was called Movie or Nuvi. It was a preschool toy, and that was less interactive, but my nieces have had far more fun with that non-interactive robot that just kind of tells you what to do.
Right.
It has a couple buttons that trigger different games, and then it does a animal charade thing, flap like a bird. The kids have more fun with that than trying to talk to this thing because it just is not responsive enough.
So before we move on, I want to talk about two robots. Bring it back to the past because we're all old. So the first one, Mr. Wizard.
Yes.
Remember Mr. Wizard?
Absolutely.
I don't know the name of that robot, but it had the arm, and it was getting him drinks and stuff. That thing was so cool. And they had kits, it was a kit robot.
Right.
That was cool. And the other robot of the past that was cool is, you ever heard of Armstrong?
No, I don't think so.
So Armstrong is a ride-on robot toy from the 80s.
Wow.
And what was cool about it is it had handles in the front that you could control. He had two big red arms with rubber. They never make this toy right now because you could probably crush somebody's head with it, right? But he had two big red arms that would go up and down.
Okay.
And you could pick up a ball, you could pick up a roll of toilet paper, you could pick up a toy.
Yeah.
Like I remember picking up Scorponok with Armstrong.
Okay.
And lifting Scorponok up, and I'm gonna carry him away from the Autobots.
Yeah.
But it was a ride-on toy that you could drive around.
Yeah.
And it had the controllable arms, and it talked.
That's cool.
And there was some, I think the year that I got the Terrordome.
Okay.
That was under the tree as well.
Okay.
And it was
mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I see the kids, they have the Paw Patrol that drives around.
Yeah.
And I hate making this the kids show.
Right.
But the Paw Patrol driving thing, the battery lasts forever.
Yeah.
Armstrong lasted for 10 minutes.
Well, the lithium batteries, man.
Yeah.
Even modern RC cars, kiddie RC cars, not the performance ones, but just go to Target and buy an RC car. They have a USB plug that is stored inside the vehicle. You just pull it out, plug it into an outlet, and you can drive for hours compared to we would slap D batteries in an RC car and it would be dead right away.
Yeah.
It's the battery technology for a lot of those toys really has.
But if they released Armstrong today, with the new batteries, with everything, it would still be a toy
that would be fun.
Yeah. And it'd be better than all these Paw Patrol ride-on things, because it did stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, not so much.
Yeah. All right. So news is over.
Yeah.
I do want to go and take a second to plug the Patreon for Pegwarmers.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon. It's like bonus content if you want to support the channel. We put out reviews, sometimes it's bonus behind-the-scenes things from episodes, visits to conventions and things like that. And then there's also a second tier that has a Discord, as well as like cartoon commentaries every month where we talk about like, we watch 80s cartoons and just kind of talk about them. It's a lot of fun. I sometimes forget to plug it, so I figured we'll stick it in right here. But if you want to support this channel in other ways, please consider checking out the Patreon.
And I love going in there. There's a community of people that post new to the collection stuff. And Kevin's really good about, if you post your new to the collection stuff in there, he'll have something to say.
Yep. Try and respond as much as possible. There's a small group of guys, but even they have fun interacting with each other.
Yeah.
I have them looking for Pegwarmers on the shelf that we can feature on the show. We've actually done a few episodes that were based on suggestions or research and topics that came from there. So it is a really great way to interact.
And maybe every once in a while, I find my way in there.
Ryan sneaks in once in a while.
Once in a while. Yeah.
All right, so the next section is new to the collection, and I brought a pretty big pile with me. I brought a whole bunch of Star Wars retro collection figures with me. The retro collection started out as Hasbro reissuing old Kenner figures.
Okay.
And to me, it was neat to see them on the peg again, but it wasn't that exciting because it was just like the original Luke Skywalker just remolded. Like, okay, it's neat, but if you're a Star Wars fan, you probably own all of them.
Right.
So they did eventually expand a little bit, and they did like a Grand Moff Tarkin. He was included with a board game. That was cool because it was a figure we never had from Kenner. They did a Luke in the Empire Strikes Back speeder outfit, so it was like the Hoth gloves and everything. That was cool. Again, something new. But now they've been doing it for the new content.
Right.
And to be honest, it's the first Star Wars toys I've bought in a long time. I don't collect Black Series. I like them. They look great. But it feels like buying the same characters over and over again. And my favorite scale is the 3 3/4, and I love my Kenner collection. So to be able to get figures that fit with them is super exciting to me. So these guys are mostly from The Mandalorian here, but there are some new ones based on Kenobi that aren't out yet.
Oh, cool.
But they're really going with this. Yeah. So we've got the armor.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so
I like that.
She's got her little tools there. I do think that these are some of them are slightly more detailed than a Kenner figure, but they're trying to hit that aesthetic. Right. It's not quite as blobby and soft as some of those Kenner figures.
But also, like, if this was like a modern toy, there'd be a lot more like subtle texture with the paint apps and things like that.
So they're trying to find that sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
But the armor, I got her, Mando in his Beskar armor. They had done him in his first episode armor previously, but he's kind of cool. We got Boba Fett in his Book of Boba Fett style outfit.
And this is like Boba Fett now.
Yes, Boba Fett now. But he definitely has like the antennas molded straight to the side of the helmet in that true Kenner style where like it's got to get out of the mold super easy. It's kind of fun though to have like the Boba Fett gun for a Kenner figure, because the old Boba Fett came with just the Stormtrooper blaster because everybody in the Kenner line had like 3 guns. So that's kind of fun. I did do a little bit of army building. I bought 2 of the Death Troopers because you got to have Luke slash through a whole bunch of those guys. So I picked up 2 of them. We got Bo-Katan, another one of the Mandalorian characters.
I like that her build. It's not just like they used the Mando.
Right. It's all new sculpt, but it's simplified. It very much looks like a Kenner figure with the kind of the lack of detail. Most of the modern Bo-Katans have removable helmets, and it's very tempting. Like that's a neat feature, but because they're sticking true to the Kenner, she doesn't have a removable helmet. There were very few removable helmets in that line. Pretty much just like Leia and Lando from Return of the Jedi got the removable helmet.
They had to with Leia though.
They had to. That was a big twist. Yeah. And then the last one I have here is Ahsoka.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of fun to get her in this adult form, and it's really the only Kenner style Ahsoka we've really had. There were a few 5-point of articulation toys that came out during Rebels that kind of bridged the gap, but they were a little too cartoony for my taste to like fit with the Kenner stuff. So I just enjoy these. I think they're a lot of fun. I wish that the packaging maybe was a little bit more interesting. It's just like garbage legalese on the back.
I mean, look how much of that. It's half of it is legalese.
But since we're buying these online, like they don't need to cross sell us anything. So
yeah,
I guess that's what we'll live with.
Yeah.
But I brought these along to show them because I just think they're a lot of fun. I already ordered Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and a couple of the Inquisitor guys and the droid from the Kenobi series. The thing that kind of excites me, because they're totally reselling us Darth Vader. Like I said, we all have a Vader figure. This Vader from the Kenobi series, instead of it being that like lightsaber in the tube in his arm, he actually holds an accessory one like the later Kenner figures. You know, for Empire, Luke stopped having the lightsaber built into his arm and he held a lightsaber. They never redid Vader. They just kept re-releasing that one. And it was just sort of an awkward thing. It made sense when all the lightsabers were the stick out the arm.
Yes.
But once they switched it, it was like, now they sword fight in a weird way. So I kind of like that. It was just sort of a fun way to refresh the Kenner Vader. They gave him the red lenses to his eyes just to give him a little bit more detail. I think it's fun.
It's really cool. I haven't bought a lot, but I've been intrigued and enjoyed a lot of like the reaction, like as that line is expanded and all of that. And this kind of like simple figure situation. I mean, this was always part of toys.
Right.
And it kind of went away when we went to these huge collector, high dollar value,
And this works so well for me because that's how I first collected Star Wars. Like Super 7's doing reaction G.I. Joes, and they feel a little awkward to me because G.I. Joe always was America's moving fighting man,
Yeah.
But Star Wars was this for most of my life. Even Power of the Force 2 was just better sculpts, but still this kind of articulation.
Yeah.
So I love Star Wars figures that are kind of chunky and you can't pose them that great.
Yeah.
So
I think it's great. In my new to the collection, I kind of I've been going to the South Mall Mercantile.
Oh yeah,
in Allentown-ish. It's not quite Allentown, but
right.
Close
enough.
Close enough for people on the internet. There's actually a really cool arcade in there called Back to the Arcade.
Okay.
Which is like fixed price. You just go in, you have the whole day.
Oh, that's nice.
They have pinball and all. But across from the arcade, you can have like your full like 80s, 90s experience. Because across from that is a Mercantile Mall where like people rent like little spots.
Okay.
And the whole left side, the person who rents that must rent. They're renting almost an entire store.
Okay.
Of like imagine this is a mall that's closed down and there's stores.
Yeah.
And the Mercantile is absorbing stores.
Okay.
So there's one entire mall store worth of toys.
Wow.
And it's probably 40% Funko Pops.
That's tends to be the way it is.
But what's interesting is the person who is renting it also bought some like mega sculpted. They have Boo from Dragon Ball Z there that's like this tall.
Yeah.
And my like kids are taking pictures with Boo. And they have a character from My Hero Academia, which is interesting because you think of like, oh, it's going to be Superman. It's going to be Batman and Ninja Turtle. But this is like the Funko Pop store.
Yeah, well, I mean that audience is very much like middle school kids. So My Hero Academia is very popular and like Attack on Titan and things like that.
Yeah. So they have those big guys, but then they also just have like it's like a classic toy store in that the pops are like 5 deep.
Yeah.
On shelves, and it's not like they're the same. It's like you'll be going through and it's like, this is an Entertainment Earth exclusive. This is a previews exclusive. This one is, but they're just in there.
Okay.
So to experience this, you have to like dig. So my daughter ended up getting a like she's doing the Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Ones. And she's buying these Funko Pops, and we've went there a few weeks. Every few weeks we've been going. And I'm like, I swore I would never buy a Funko Pop ever again.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm like, man, I really like Demon Slayer. So I'm like, I'm not going to buy some floofy special edition. I'm just going to buy a Nezuko.
Okay.
So that was like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I buy Nezuko, and she's getting flocked some flocked character from Marvel.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's flocked. And she's like, it's fuzzy. I'm like, yo, get that. That's the one we're getting. So she got that. And she's getting the Stranger Things one. But last time I went, and they had, and this is where I'm like falling. They're getting me.
Yeah.
Funko. I could feel Freddie Funko pulling me in.
And we were in hard for a while.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of Funko stuff for a while.
But I ended up buying like the Hot Topic exclusive Tanjiro
Okay.
from it. And I'm like, gosh, this is not what I signed up for. So I own 2 Funko Pops now.
Oh.
And that's too many.
It's a slippery slope.
But I'm having fun.
That's good.
I want to keep it as a like a flirtation and not a full
I gotcha.
attack.
I get sucked in whenever they do like the retro toy brand. Like
Yeah.
I got out of Funko. I was like avoiding it. I have a ton. I never got rid of my Funko stuff, but I just wasn't adding to that collection. And then they did like a new wave of He-Man and a new wave of G.I. Joe, and I'm like, well, I gotta go get them, you know. And so now I'm kind of back at a distance, but I know they'll sneak out some more of that stuff at some point, and then I'll be back in it.
But that wasn't the coolest thing that happened in this toy store.
All right.
Because my one son, he loves trucks, he loves cars, he loves mechanical things, he wants to work in the garage, he wants to do that toys, not so much. My other son, and I said this on the last Pegwarmers I was on, I was like, he's talking to me about the Rhino.
Yeah.
He's talking about, how's he know who Rhino is? What Spider-Man is he watching that has Rhino? So I got him the... I didn't take it from him for the episode.
Right.
But I got him the 1994 Rhino.
Nice.
Here from the new animated series, right? I got him this the first time we went, and his birthday's coming up. We came back, and he is going to have a very happy birthday.
Nice.
Because he says, I want Ninja Turtles. I want Ninja Turtles. So I ended up getting him the Lightning Collection over the weekend. We got him the Lightning Collection that has Tommy as a foot soldier and Jason as Raphael.
Nice. The crossover.
The crossover 2-pack. So that's what I bought him there, and I got it for a really good price.
Okay.
It's like $20.
Nice.
Like I imagine that costs more than 20.
Yeah, they're 22 to 24 depending on where you get them. And
yeah. But he's been so.
Oh, and it's a 2-pack?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it's way more than that. They're like 22 a piece usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's been so into the Ninja Turtles lately that we got him reissues. We didn't get it. And I wanted to ask you the ethics of this decision.
Okay.
So I got him 4 of the reissue Turtles, like the original Playmates reissue.
Which have been reissued a million times.
Which is, but it was like the most recent reissue. That's fine. But I started looking at turtle layers, guys. And when you're picking out a turtle lair, it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. And I was looking at I started, I'm like, I'm not getting him a vintage one. I'm like, because a vintage one on a vintage complete on eBay right now is like $170.
Okay.
For that. So I'm looking.
This might be like a hot take, but I don't think the vintage one is the coolest one they've ever done. It's real tight. It's fun because it's the original.
Yeah.
But it's hard to play in. You know what I mean? It's like you put the guys in there and they barely fit.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, let me say what I did. So I looked at the Chinatown one, and there wasn't a Chinatown turtle lair for under $300.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm not paying that. And then I looked at the Rise, like the Cityscape Rise Tower one, and I'm like, oh, I'd really like that. It's so big. And they were like $200. So I started sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, am I really going to end up buying my 4-year-old a vintage turtle lair that he's going to destroy? But it's like $170 versus $300, $400. So I bought him, and I was like, can I find one that's not complete?
Yeah.
So I started looking, and it was like a $20 difference between not complete and complete.
Wow.
So my son is getting a vintage complete turtle lair for his birthday next week. And, I've asked many of my friends, some of who have appeared on this show, about the ethics of me buying a vintage complete turtle lair that he, in all honesty, is going to destroy. Where do you fit on this?
So, toys are meant to be played with.
Okay.
I do get that we all get very weird about it.
Yes.
You know, I totally get it, but I will give you a very similar situation.
Okay.
I recently, sold my house. I had to pack up my whole collection, and I was getting rid of some of the duplicates and bulky things I had. And I had a guy who reached out about the Defiant I was trying to sell. I had 2 of the G.I. Joe Space Complex. I bought one to, like, get parts off of it. And so I had put together a good one and a worse one. And the worst one had a lot of rare parts to it and stuff, but it's not complete. And the guy that reached out to me was buying it for his kid.
Oh, wow.
And he was shelling out $400 for it. And that was, it's fine with me. Like, I was shocked that he was giving it to a kid, but, like, damn, that's super cool. Like, I love that a kid's going to play with this thing. If it was the last one in existence, or if it was, like, perfect, like, if he opened it from the box and, like, stickered it himself, I'd be like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
But, like, to buy one that's dinged up a little bit, that's cool. I'm glad his kid's going to have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
So I don't really mind.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, if you wanted to, like, even take some of the little loose pieces off that turtle set
and what's funny?
Set it aside, I wouldn't care either.
We both have a mutual friend, Paul.
Yeah.
And Paul said to me, that's what he said. He said, no, toys are meant to play with.
Yeah.
This is what you do. But you better take off the rare parts. Because, like, why?
Just break them.
Why would you?
And that's kind of where I'm thinking. Like, yeah, give the kid the shell and, whatever.
Yeah. Right? But, I mean, like, it's super cool that he's into that.
It is super cool. So, when I was a kid, when I got out of Ninja Turtles, I sold them at a yard sale. And somebody we knew, like like a family we knew, we ended up kind of giving them a package deal. And I sold this family the 4 turtles and the van, and I think Shredder and maybe like one other bad guy, for like less than what I was selling everything individually for. And I was selling this stuff dirt cheap because it was the late 90s and it wasn't worth anything at the time. But anyway, I occasionally babysat for that kid because we knew the family, like, the parents would go out for dinner or whatever, and I would go to his house and play with my childhood Ninja Turtles with him again, and I had a blast doing it. It was so much fun. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is like...
When I was in 7th grade, the Turtles left my life.
Okay.
And the Turtles left my life because I loaded up my red Radio Flyer wagon with 2 boxes of Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And I had another friend named Ryan, and I took them up to the top of the hill, and his mom handed me $100, and I handed them 2 packed boxes of Ninja Turtles, and I had like a ton, different ones, and it was everything from the vintage ones to the only one I didn't have in Wave 1 was April because we couldn't find her.
Yeah.
But, I had like the Space Turtles and Mondo Gecko and Usagi Yojimbo and like all the different, the Triceratops looking guy and all of that.
Uh-huh.
And they went off and I bought video games with it. And I don't know what games I bought or where they were, but I remember that.
I did the same thing. I focused on Kenner Star Wars and G.I. Joe when I transitioned from playing with toys to being a collector.
Yeah.
And I sold He-Man and Thundercats and all that stuff that I've spent a lot of money trying to rebuy. But, we all do that even as adults. Car collectors buy and sell cars. They buy something for a while and they sell it off. So you just can't look back.
No.
If what you're buying now is bringing you joy, great.
But you know what I think is wonderful? What he is getting for his birthday, the turtle lair and the 4 original turtles, is like what you need to like capture the essence of what that felt like. And the fact that he is willingly doing that. It wasn't like I was like,
Hey,
you
know what's cool?
He came to us and he's like, I want he can't even say it right.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Very cool. All right, so the main topic of today's episode is the old Playmates Star Trek.
It is.
And this is not a like full line overview. We don't have every figure or even claim to be, experts of every release, because I know
Right.
there's all kinds of goofy 90s collectible stuff baked into the line.
Yeah.
Like very limited releases and variants, like packaging errors and stuff. But Playmates released this line from 1992 through 1999 with a variety of like titles on the package.
Yes.
Because it was when Next Generation came out, but they were also selling classic show characters. It transitioned into Deep Space Nine and some of the movies. So it's a line as itself, but it has a whole bunch of sublines within it.
To me, the Star Trek line, while I feel like it has less notoriety, I think there's two. It reminds me of Toy Biz X-Men.
Yeah.
Because I think you go to flea markets, at least around here, you go to places where people sell toys. And the Pegwarmers of the modern toy are these like late in the line Toy Biz, like X-Force, Generation X, those sort of things. And actually some really good Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, you might not be able to find a Picard, but I regularly see Datas and Worfs and things like that from the main, like,
Cast.
early wave figures. But, on our show, Talk About Games, we fall into Star Trek a lot.
Right.
So I was like, what figures can I get that would be funny?
Okay.
What could I get that, because they made, some of these waves are ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, this is a commercial product that gets, and this was successful.
Yeah.
But it's unbelievable that this is like a commercially viable product.
They made over around 350 figures, and for as many years as it went, it was close to a decade-long toy line.
Wow.
That's huge. Most toy lines don't make it past that first wave.
Yeah.
If you think about it. Granted, this was backed by huge media, but it's not necessarily media targeted at kids.
Absolutely not.
That's kind of the weirdest thing about Star Trek, is that it's like a show you watched with your dad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it almost reminds me of like the MASH toy line, where like they made toys of this show that like kids only kind of watched because their dad was watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a different feeling than like the RoboCop and Rambo lines.
Yes.
Because that, I think a kid could be interested in either of those lines just on
Concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's a person in a uniform. It's weird. So I want to get into, this is an expensive joke that I'm playing on Mike Matei, basically. The first one I wanted to note is Loaxana Troy. And Majel Barrett played Loaxana Troy. And everyone on the set, when they were doing that, said, oh, this is the boss's wife.
Okay.
Right? Because she was Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Yeah.
And this is, there's not much action in this figure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable. And she is in a line with the following characters.
Okay.
And, I think they are ordered on the back of this in order of interest, I would say. I paid $4 for this. I just want to mention. You got Data in movie uniform.
Okay.
So this is Generations.
Right.
In this case. Geordi LaForge in movie uniform. Sure. Ambassador Sarek, who's Spock's dad. Loaxana Troy, who I have right here. The Nausicaan. So the Nausicaan is the guy who stabbed Picard in the heart in Tapestries.
Okay.
Which is the one where Q says, what if I lived a different life? What if I didn't take chances? And it turns out that he would be a lieutenant, and he walks around the ship, and Riker's like, oh, could you get me that report?
Yeah.
He's not the captain. So
Right.
At the end of the episode, he says, I would rather die than live this life without risk and ambition and all of that. And Q spares him.
Okay.
Right? Tasha Yar, which it's weird that there's a Tasha Yar coming so late. This is it's 94. It's not that late, but the movies are already out.
Right.
She had been dead for 6 seasons.
Wonder if they were just spacing out female characters a certain way.
I guess so. Beverly Crusher in Starfleet duty uniform, which is interesting because the ladies on the show, their costumes changed as you went from season to season to season. And at the end of the show, both Troy and Beverly were both in uniforms like the rest of the cast.
Right.
Right. So I think, things changed over time. So you get her in her late season uniform. Ensign Rolaren, who was a Betazoid in the I'm sorry. Oh my God. I'm sorry, everybody. A Bajoran. And she's obviously there to hint at DS9 coming, which focused on the Bajorans more. And Dr. Noonien Soong, who created Data.
Okay.
So that's the line.
Wow.
Right?
What are her accessories? I got to see this real
Yeah,
quick.
let's look at that.
I love how this is where Playmates copies stuff from the successive Ninja Turtles. So Ninja Turtles came with unpainted accessories, and they always spelled them out on the back of the package, and they've done that exact thing here. So this is for your most action-packed action figure in the line here. Wine glass.
Perfect.
Intergalactic suitcase.
Yeah.
Talking gift box. And crystal gong.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? They are referencing multiple episodes in this figure.
Specific things. But just how much this is like getting a Star Wars politician. You know, yep, lots of action here, guys.
Yeah, it's not that. I'm not going to go as in depth with some of these other ones, but right here I have 3 Starfleet Academy figures. Now they did 4 of these. Here we go. Can you grab one? Yeah. So I
got Jean-Luc Picard. Ooh, he's got hair.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard with hair. It should say with hair on it. I got Riker and I have Geordi. So the only one I don't have is Worf. And I bought these at Quakertown Farmers Market for $2 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of neat in the sense that prequels are popular, and if you want to give kids an area of a storyline to kind of play where there's less stuff spelled out, you can be the characters before they're the characters we know. They're marketing this with Omnipedia Starfleet Academy, so you've got a CD-ROM in here, which is such a 90s pack-in.
Yeah, you need a 486, 33 megahertz, 8 megabytes of RAM, and a color monitor.
Color monitor.
To experience this one. Windows 3.1.
But at least these guys, like what I was saying with the accessories, I don't know if they all have the same accessories, but there's a phaser, there's protective flight vest, there's an eye visor, there's a pad, there's stuff that facilitates having an adventure with this toy.
Yeah. And
this was definitely a weird line as far as it's marketed to adults and kids at the same time.
Absolutely.
So you do need to get characters that the adults want and characters the kids want. But this is an action toy.
It is.
So
if you're a nerdy, slightly older kid, getting the CD-ROM and looking up the facts and things, or even an adult, is kind of cool in a pre-internet or early internet era. The reason I bought these toys, I was like, man, these toys kick the crap out of the Lightyear line that's currently right. They have way more accessories. There's way more play options, but I'm sure that these did not do well.
Oh, probably not.
I can't imagine, but it would have been nice to have seen in Lightyear a similar level of playability.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being like the characters. Many of our favorite. I'll talk about some of the funny ones, but in all seriousness, Deep Space Nine is one of my favorite Star Treks, and I have Cisco. I was unable to get Cisco from the Deep Space Nine line, but when your budget is $2, you can only get so far. So we got Cisco, and this is a late Cisco, because Captain Kern is in the wave with him. Okay. So this is towards the end of Deep Space Nine, and it's just branded Star Trek. Right. They kind of picked and chose from the original series, Deep Space Nine, Generations movie, and Voyager. Interestingly enough, this says Beverly Crusher from Generations, but it looks like it's the same figure as First Contact. Just with slightly different paint apps, like just looking at the picture.
Okay.
Because I have the First Contact movie Beverly here. So that's kind of interesting. But I got Cisco. I've got Odo. I've got... and I got him for this episode for a really specific reason, but when you're paying $2, I guess it's not so bad. Goldukat.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about Goldukat because I think that the fan favorites of DS9 have changed over the years. Garrick, who was the tailor,
Okay.
and Goldukat were not very beloved in the early history of the early fandom of Deep Space Nine. But now Goldukat and Garrick are like super fan favorites. So, his Goldukat's myth grew in the telling.
Yeah.
But he's still only $2 at the farmer's market. It's good.
I mean, it's one of those lines that if you aren't worried about trying to get the whole thing, you just want something fun to look for every time you go to a toy show or like
Yeah.
a market, it's a great line to just pick up random characters from because they're dirt cheap. You find Star Trek guys for under $5
Yeah.
anywhere they sell, 90s toys.
Yes. It's great. So, but then the other thing is like what Star Trek The Next Generation was and what the alien races were changed from season to season. Season 1 Star Trek is not season 4
Right.
Next Generation. And this Ferengi figure really tells you that. Because the Ferengi of the Deep Space Nine era, for instance, are completely different. Here they're just like slightly better than Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
And they're very antagonistic rather than being like the mercantile Ferengi we got later. So this is like the episode Stargazer,
Okay.
where Damon Bach uses Picard's old ship to try to entrap the Enterprise. And also the early... That's like the era of this.
Yeah.
But these Ferengi are from very early in the season where they beam down to the planet and they attack the away team with the pain whips.
Yeah. And these are like the Ferengi that were in the Galoob line. Like before it went to Playmates, at the very beginning of Next Generation, Galoob made Star Wars sized Star Trek guys. And you
cool.
get that same Ferengi in that line.
Yeah, I have Spock from the motion picture
Okay.
in my office
Yeah.
that someone gave to me. Is that from the Galoob line?
And
And he's like almost like a
think
dino rider. He's like a little bigger than a dino rider.
yeah, I can't remember. I haven't looked at it in a while up there, but yeah, it might be from that same
Yeah.
line.
So this one is 1992.
Okay, so that's the beginning of the run. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But I mean, things got pretty crazy with the Star Trek figures. This one is a one-off episode. Lieutenant Commander LaForge as a Tar-Channin 3 alien. Then they have Commander Riker as a Malkorian and Captain Picard as a Romulan. So these are very specific episodes. Also, Lieutenant Barclay's in this line. Deanna Troi in Next Generation 6th season uniform, like I said,
Yeah.
is in this line. And Lieutenant Worf in Starfleet rescue outfit. So every single one of these characters is from a specific episode.
It's so interesting how with Star Trek the media impacts the toy line so much. And granted, this toy line went for a long time, but like if you think back to like a lot of the toy lines we talk about a lot on the show, like the classic 80s
Yeah.
toys, like they made the toys, then they made a cartoon show, and in all those episodes, there were all these very specific things that happened, like somebody would get frozen or would get turned to stone or whatever. And those are the kind of toys they make now as like a weird collector like repaint. Like
Yeah.
here's clear He-Man, or here's like golden Teela or whatever. But they were doing it in the main line.
Yeah.
Because it went so long, and they made all the characters that like you had to have, that it was like, okay, well, let's just dig deep and do all these crazy
Right. And
specific.
you want to have it be one of the ensemble characters,
right.
right? Like there's so many like Admiral whoever. Like it is not the Star Wars philosophy.
Right.
Right? Because the Star Wars philosophy, this line would have been Admiral Jellicoe, right? It would have been some Klingon that was in some episode.
Yeah.
It would be like named obscure background characters, but in this they keep going back to like the main the main
characters.
character people. The Commander Riker is a Malkorian episode is kind of interesting because he gets beamed down to a planet where he is hallucinating. They do like use chemicals on him to make him think that he is a political prisoner in an insane asylum. But it's not. He's in his own head. So he has to escape through these layers of fiction to finally contact the ship and get off. But they're trying to convince him that he doesn't have a ship. What are you talking about? You take your pills, you know?
Yeah.
That's that episode. And the only reason he gets out of it is because of, he was playing violin.
Okay.
And, like the sound of it is what jogs him out of it.
It's like Stranger Things.
Isn't that, yeah, right? No, that's funny. Bringing it back. I'm going to do 2 more of these just because I enjoy it.
I wonder if Paramount or like Roddenberry had any stipulations on characters. So when Mattel was doing DC action figures for a while, at one point in the line, it was required that there was a Batman or a Superman in every wave.
Yeah.
And so, you know, while each wave would get you a few B and C list characters, there was always a Superman or a Batman. And very quickly you run out of like the Batman and Supermans that like everybody wants, right? Like Batman has a handful of like classic costumes, and then there's a bunch of absurd like one-time things. So I almost wonder if in a way it was like there has to be at least, you know, a main crew character in every wave, and so at some point it's like, well, all we got left is like Spock as a gangster, you know?
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, it's crazy. But like looking at these, and look, there's little file cards that explain the history of it.
That's so perfect on a line like this, because like I was saying, this is one of those toy lines. It's aimed at kids. It's aimed at adults. Star Trek is kind of an every age thing, but a lot of it goes over a kid's head. And so if you haven't seen all the content, having those file cards really does help. Like, oh, okay, this guy comes from an episode I haven't seen, or I didn't understand this 2 years ago when I saw it, you know, Now I get what's going on.
And it says, coming soon, Star Trek Deep Space Nine video game on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The cross promotion is crazy. Yeah. Oh, new exclusive Playmates collector Space Cap included. This is like Pog era.
Pogs, yes.
There is a Captain Picard as Romulan Pog in this. This thing is like...
It's CD-ROMs and Pogs, man. It doesn't get more 90s in this line.
It doesn't get better than that. I got one more.
All right.
So in the new Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Nurse Chapel is an amazing character.
Okay.
She is a main character. It's weird seeing the nurse be such a character at the forefront. I mean, the Doctor's big in the show too, but you know, she has a very unique relationship with Spock that kind of teeters on like a romantic relationship, right? So you got Nurse Chapel from the original TV series. Hello, Oksana Troy. They're the same actress. Separated by
a bunch of years.
So many years. That's fun. I like that.
What kind of accessories does she get?
She has a hypo spray, an anabolic protoplaser to heal bodily trauma,
okay,
a medical scanner, and a medical tricorder. So I mean, she's
more
legit.
more action oriented. Like she can heal your injured. It's not a wine glass and a suitcase. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's
like she has a role to play and comes with the right accessories to do that.
Man, they made a Vosh and a Grand Nagus Zek figure. Wow, and then Odo from Necessary Evil coming soon. That's where he like goes to the, like he actually goes to the founders and like is like So he looks like one of the founders in that. That's pretty crazy. Beverly Crusher in 1940s attire. I'm sure that flew off the shelves. And Sheriff Wolf from A Fistful of Datas, like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, man, this is
There's so much weird stuff
it's
in that
nuts, man. But having the Nurse Chapel and the little Oksana Troy, that was what motivated me to keep going. Wow. Yeah. No, but you know, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of history, and this was not on my radar.
Right.
When I was a kid, I got Riker, I got Picard, I got like 4 or 5 mains, and then I moved on with my life. But this is like
I always
unbelievable.
thought it was really funny how the phasers were molded with like a little beam on
Yeah.
them. Like it always seemed a little bit hokey. It's just such a funny decision, but probably saved so many of them from getting lost. Because if it was just the little handle piece, like it's so easy to lose. It's so tiny, you know.
It's an awful gun.
It is.
Yeah. And they have in this line the Type 1 phaser, which looks like a remote.
Right.
It doesn't even have like a pistol, like a
Grip, right.
like a grip.
Yeah.
The Type 2 phaser is a little more legit.
A little more action oriented.
Yeah, man, those early seasons, like they were trying to really like push that they're a more enlightened whatever. And then you get to the film and they have rifles and it's like
It's just a straight up action movie.
you know. It's funny.
So Playmates actually has the license to Star Trek again.
Okay.
Which is crazy. They're not actually like rehashing this line. I mean, they will remake all these figures basically, but like they've changed the scale. They've upped the articulation. Some of the stuff's up for pre-order now.
So like black figure style?
Not quite. It's somewhere in the middle. It's like, yeah, I like maybe Marvel Legend. You know how Marvel Legend is like highly articulated, but not like hyper detailed the way Black Series is. It's somewhere kind of in there. They're 5 inches tall, and it's just kind of neat that Playmates has it again. They're going to release some stuff in packaging based on the current shows, and they're going to do some stuff in retro packaging to kind of match these.
Yeah, so I have upstairs, I have a Picard figure that's like very well detailed. Who made those?
That I don't know. There have been several different people that have had Star Trek licenses to do very specific scales.
But it's like a nice action figure.
Yeah.
Like too good for Star Trek. Man, I want to stick with this. I'd rather have more.
Yeah.
More different characters and stories and things than have it be like, I don't need another. I've said this on the show multiple times. I don't need another $30, $40, $150, $75 figure.
Yeah.
That's not my risk tolerance when it comes to toys, I guess.
No, I think this line is a lot of fun, though. Like, it just is super playable. It would have been nice if the figure sat a little bit better, considering how many, like, Star Trek scenes involve people sitting on the bridge.
Yeah.
That's sort of the one weakness of this toy line. But they're definitely nicely displayed for the people who want to collect stuff on package, but they're also rugged enough that kids can play with them and have a lot of fun with them.
Definitely. Sure. Also, I didn't bring any, but the ships are cool. They all have sound effects. There is like the bridge. Mm-hmm. You can get the transporter room. You can get stuff. So there was a lot of like accessories and things. The phasers and role play stuff is super cool too. Yeah, I was shocked when I pulled out my phaser a couple years ago. Like there was no battery acid in it. It like dodged the bullet.
Star Trek is such a hard toy line though for toys to scale.
Yeah.
Like you can do the shuttlecraft to match the figures, but you just can't make like the Enterprise and have it be reasonable to the figures.
I mean, Enterprise is like half a kilometer long or something like that.
It's why they never really made a true Star Destroyer for the Star Wars line. Like they did make a little wedge-shaped play set that was called Vader's Star Destroyer, but it was clearly just like the bridge of the Star Destroyer.
Yeah. I think the scale snobbery in the tabletop Star Wars bothers me a little bit.
Okay.
So there's like 2 games. There's X-Wing and there's Armada. There's
Yeah.
more than 2 games. There's a land-based game. There's a lot of games.
There's a lot of games.
But it's Fantasy Flight.
Yeah.
And there's Armada and the regular and X-Wing. And like X-Wing is fighters only and like small craft.
Right. Yeah,
but
we played that fair amount for a little while when it first came out.
We'll never get a Star Destroyer in the context of that game. And I'm like, yo, can we just pretend? Like, if it was this big, it'd be fine for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you, as somebody who played Warhammer and things, would you be offended if they put out an X-Wing Star Destroyer that was only this big?
I personally wouldn't be offended because it's a game, and
Yeah.
like, let's just have fun with it. It would be a tough like matchup. Like, I don't know how you balance that out. Like, how many ships does the other team get to try and destroy that thing?
Right.
But it even if it was not actually like a playable vehicle, but was like an objective.
Yeah.
Like, keep it alive or destroy it. You know, like, kind of a thing. Like, you know, you have to fight off the TIE fighters while trying to blow up the shields or something like that. Could be a fun dynamic to a game.
So the scale doesn't bother you, though. You're not like,
really.
oh my god, it would be as bigger than the table.
It would bug me if I was trying to do some sort of diorama or something like that. You know, it bugs me in a line like this where like you take the roof off the Enterprise and you can put like a guy in it. Like,
yeah, that's
come on,
stupid.
you know what I mean? It's dumb,
Yeah.
right? But like the fact that like the X-Wing toy is not that much smaller than the Millennium Falcon in the original Star Wars line, you know, it's kids' toys. Like, it's never going to scale perfect, you know?
Yeah.
I get that part of it, you know?
They're very serious about that. They're very serious
Yeah,
about that over at Fantasy Flight.
And I do understand. I understand it. Like, I understand why people care.
Yeah.
Because I do sometimes look at things and go, are you kidding me? But, like, they have to also put it in a box and sell it, you know? Yeah, you can't make the playset as big as it really would be. Like, Castle Grayskull can't actually be a castle that every character fits inside. Like, no one has room for that. No one has the money for that. Like, so you got to get, like, you got to find that sweet spot in the scale that looks good for display and functionality, but isn't the real thing. Because, you know, nobody's going to buy it.
And I think that's the beauty of like the classic G.I. Joe line. And I think that's why it's special. There were so many vehicles that had so much playability and you could fit so many figures in.
Yeah.
And not many toy lines even approach that level of vehicle figure integration.
And I had as much fun with a vehicle that was like out of scale as I did with the ones that were in scale. Like, if you think about like the original Sky Striker, right? That's fairly decent scale to a G.I. Joe figure. It's big. It's got landing gear that comes down. It's got wings that come out. It's got little parachute things. You know, they took all those features out, made the Conquest in the mid-'80s. It's much smaller, but it was a little easier to play with as a kid.
Yeah.
Because it just fit in your hand better. So I understand like those scale issues. I get it that an aircraft carrier for G.I. Joe would be huge, and that, you know, a real aircraft carrier has a fleet of planes on it, and you can really only park like a Sky Striker on your flag. But that, like I'm saying, is sort of like a reasonable scale.
Yeah, it's big.
It's
big too.
But man, is that pushing the size you could sell? Like, if they made an actual Star Destroyer toy for the counter line, it would have had to have been that big.
Yeah.
To represent the full outside of it, and still, it would have been ridiculously big.
I think where a scale, and we should do an episode on scale someday. I think that would be fun. But I think where I tune out is like, man, the Lego Star Wars ships are too big. Like from the Death Star to Star Destroyer to even the Tantive, the Corellian Corvette. It's like, I can't. Where am I going to put that?
Where? I mean, that's where I run into with a lot of these HasLab and you know, prepay stuff. Like, you can get a giant Sentinel, and you can get you know, the new Sky Striker is a little bigger than the old Sky Striker, and eventually it's like, all right, if you collect one line and that's the centerpiece of that collection, it's awesome. But if you're a crazy person, like many of us are, and you're collecting multiple lines, right? Like like I am a Super 7 fanboy, and I have the ultimate Silverhawks and the ultimate Thundercats and the ultimate G.I. Joe and the ultimate Ninja Turtles. When I get the Turtle Van in and I get the Thunder Tank in and, whatever else they decide to put out, where do I put all that stuff? If I only collected one line, it'd be great.
Yeah, it's really rough for me that my tolerance for Sentinels and Unicrons and flags and stuff is 0.
Yeah.
In my life, right?
That's all right.
It's like, am I going to open a toy where do I need a retail space now to keep my toy? Like, what? How does that work? I own pinball machines.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that when you're married, which you are,
right,
and your collection includes pinball machine, you're probably not also having a flag and a Unicron and a Sentinel. It's unreasonable.
Well, and you have to balance all of that stuff. Not only do you have to balance like your collection, but the needs of other people. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so I literally owned a house on my own and had toys in almost every room, and they weren't all full. Like, there were certain rooms that were chock full of toys, and certain rooms that there was just sort of like some stuff in. Like, my guest bedroom, I tried to keep so a guest could use it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There was a few things in there. There was some nerdy stuff hanging on the walls, but I didn't have like the bureau's covered in action figures, and if you close the drawer, everything's gonna fall. Like, I didn't do that, but like I sold that house now that I'm married, and we're buying a new house, and like my stuff will have to be more contained because it's unfair for me to just like expect the whole family to like don't touch any of that stuff that's in every room of the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you do have to balance that. And then if you collect multiple things, you have video games, you have, the arcade stuff, right? Like you have to balance it. And you can't, if you want to have a giant play set, that takes up the space of one of the arcade machines. So you have to make those decisions. And that's a weird spot I'm in. I have pre-ordered, like I said, the Ninja Turtle Ultimate Van and the Ultimate's Thunder Tank, and I don't really know how that's going to fit in the new house, let alone the fact that I already have the Flag and the Defiant and the Terradrome and the Technodrome and like so many of these things. So we'll figure it out, and I gotta balance all that out, and it's an interesting challenge, and I love seeing people that have really creative ways of displaying stuff, but I don't want to own too much stuff that's just squirreled away, because at that point it's like,
why do you even own it?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't mind having a few things squirreled away, like you have a tackle box of accessories, or you have a few things they just don't quite fit. Maybe I'm waiting to try and get a full collection. I might trade some things out. Like I had Land of the Lost stuff hanging up in my toy room for years, and it was a total impulse buy, and then I kept collecting it. It was very similar to this kind of a collection. Like, oh, that's funny. Oh, look, I can get 10 Land of the Lost guys. Like, I'm going to buy them, right? We did a whole episode on this show because I was getting rid of a bunch of my Land of the Lost stuff. I had doubles of half the line. So in that episode, like, I cut open the doubles, and I kept those, the loose ones, but I sold the carded ones. Like, I would... If I had to have a Ninja Turtle or a He-Man or a G.I. Joe toy in storage in the new house, then I need to get rid of the Land of the Lost stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not that loyal to it. Now, I kept the play sets because they're harder to find, and they still may go because, like, my HasLab His Tank or whatever is going to get a spot before the Porter's Treehouse.
Yeah.
But I wasn't quite ready to let those go yet. So, but yeah, that's like a serious conversation. And everyone works in a different space. If you have a one-bedroom apartment versus living in your parents' house versus a full house, whether you have a house to yourself or it's you and your wife versus you and kids, like, you can't monopolize all the space. You have to be fair to everybody.
Yeah, because not only do I have to fit all that, but I also need to fit a ride on Paw Patrol and a turtle lair.
Right.
And all the my son's PS5 and all of that, and it's tough.
Yeah,
you could fill any space.
Yes, and collections have a tendency to grow to fill the space. Very quickly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was a really fun topic. We kind of went on a bunch of tangents there and hit a lot of different things, but it was great seeing the Star Trek figures. So I assume we'll see those guys on these shelves. Absolutely,
that's what they live here.
So they're set dressing.
Yeah,
they don't take up space. I I'll be honest. When we started doing the show, it was shortly after that I was getting ready to move, and that was one of the things where like the G.I. Joe box art. I had that set up at my house, and I never hung it up. And I was finally like, you know what? That would be perfect for the set. Like, I'm not going to hang it up because I'm getting ready to move, and I'm just going to put it in storage.
Yeah.
So, like, I've done the same thing. There's 2 totes of Pegwarmers stuff here, and it's sort of like auxiliary storage. Like, I don't want to get rid of this yet, but I'll just take it to the office, put it in the studio. For
that's
now.
fun. Yeah. Always love being on the show. It's always a good time.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out, and we'll have to have you back on again soon.
Sounds great.
Thanks for hanging on the peg with us, guys.
We are waiting for the Dark Souls of fighting games. Let us have it. We're ready.
Soul Edge has nothing on a lightsaber. Like, I'm sorry.
James Earl Jones comes back.
No!
Oh no! Oh!
I don't think kids trade games anymore.
I need that sense of accomplishment, and it wasn't there. And I think that was a major flaw.
The way they engineer these is just phenomenal.
As much as you're into like the comics, I was very into the toys, so I was on like the message board all the time.